Time now for another vlog. Yes, it's been a month since the last vlog, which means we get to do a new one, going over things that have transpired over the past month of April. And if you want to check out previous vlogs, the playlist over on the vlogs channel. By the way, thank you to everybody that subscribed to the vlogs channel. We have, 250 subscribers over there now? Awesome. Very cool. Forgot to put my headphones on. It's a lot easier for some reason when I'm recording these things to have my headphones on. I guess it's just a mindset I developed from my radio days. So, oof. Obviously doesn't help me in my driving skills in this game. But, so April had a few things happen that were very similar to the past few months. The bug, lockdown, self-quarantine, social distancing, yeah. All that good stuff, right? Not so good. Hopefully we're getting through it, though. Hopefully. Unfortunately, worldwide, there's been over 215,000 deaths. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how many have actually died in China. We never know what those numbers actually are. But the good news is it does seem like in a lot of countries at the moment that things are starting to get better when it comes to that particular issue that we've had. And they're starting to slowly, in my country, a state-by-state basis, reopen things. For example, my state that I live in, it's still delayed till I think May 15th, the quarantine. But we're doing a little better. So things are going to start opening back up. Hopefully I can get back in the gym and get back to working out. I've been doing cardio, but you know, you got to get back to them weights. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, I don't know about any of you, but I'm getting kind of tired of all this bug nonsense. But hopefully we will be heading forward. I'm still hopeful that maybe we could still salvage the year 2020. I had high hopes for this year, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So let's move on from that topic, because we've talked about that in, I think, almost every single vlog we've done this year so far. So maybe we'll circle around to it at the end. But let's talk about some other things going on. Politics. I know I used to technically have politics over on the political channel, which is now my Burns Report channel. Still politics, but I also do other stuff like TV show, movie reviews. I just really don't know what to do with that channel, to be honest. Lately, I've been doing Star Wars reviews, and I'm going to finish with Episode 9 eventually. So I'm going to get through it. I just recently posted Empire Strikes Back, in case anyone's wondering. I have Episodes 1 through 5 now over there reviewed. And next week, I'll have Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And then we'll go into the sequel trilogies. Yay. But politically, you have Joe Biden, former vice president for Barack Obama. It looks like he's going to get the nomination for the Democratic Party. And a lot of people have come out and endorsed him. Tulsi, who I supported when she was running, she endorsed him. You even had Bernie endorse him. And recently you had Hillary endorse him. Now, for the record, I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm a moderate. And most of the time, I despise both parties because I feel like they're very divisive and they rarely do anything to help the people. Most of the time, they're both very corrupt. And I know you can just pick a country, any country, and most of the political parties in power in those countries are probably the same issue. Too divisive. It doesn't seem like they work together. And that's definitely a case with the the parties in my country. I just want us to get back to the middle, back to, people actually working together. Too much divisiveness, and something I've been, frustrated about for the longest amount of time. But Hillary is not exactly someone I would want to ring an endorsement from. I don't know why people like her. Like, she's corrupt. She's done some very bad things throughout her career. And the hoops that the DNC were willing to go through in 2016 in order to get her anointed as the Democratic nomination in 2016, the corruption, the control of the superdelegates, it's just another prime example. Yet people still love her for some reason. I just don't get it. But Biden, we've talked about this, I think, last month. I guess he's doing better now. I haven't really been keeping track. But like last month, it seemed like he wasn't entirely there. I mean, maybe he's doing better now. I don't know. Or maybe it's about the same and they're just doing a better job of hiding the issues that Biden has from the public. But it does seem like a pretty bad choice at the moment for Biden to be their front runner. So we'll see how that goes. I don't really have much faith in the election at the moment. If it comes down to Biden versus Trump, that's going to be some interesting televised debates between those two. And if those are our two candidates, I know there's third parties. I was in a third party once, the Libertarian Party. But I just think I may have to not vote on Election Day. Voting was something that really did matter to me. And I would vote in all the elections, the big elections, the local elections, the small elections. But lately I don't know. It's like every year I become a little bit more burnt out. And I know that it's important to be involved politically, but when it feels like that there's so much corruption and more of the same, and the candidates, the choices we have are terrible. I mean, I'm not a Trump supporter, obviously. I mean, I don't think everything he's done is bad. And I think that's part of the problem is that, every time he does something, people automatically bash him. Like, no matter what. He has done some good things, I will admit that. Just like, President Obama did some good things. Just like President Bush and President Clinton. I mean, they all have done good and bad things in their term in office. And you could also say the same thing about Trump. So I think the problem is that people are just out to hate him, no matter what. And look, a lot of times he does bring it upon himself. Action equals reaction. But he doesn't exactly help the situation most of the time. So it's just another prime example of the divisiveness that we live in, well, at least in my country. I think it's similar in other countries too. I do pay some attention to what happens like in the UK and Canada and elsewhere. But I just wish we would start getting candidates in office that actually talked about bringing people together, coming to the table, hammering out our differences, working things out, trying to come up with actual solutions instead of bashing and name-calling and demonizing each other from across the table. I'm just sick of it. And that's a big reason I'm sick of both parties. I wish we had a legitimate third option. And if there is a candidate that is running, independent or third party, come November, that I'm willing to go vote for just to give Trump and Biden the bird, then I'll probably do it. I think that if it does come down to Biden and Trump, I think that this would be a good opportunity for somebody to rise up as a dark horse, independent third-party candidate, because these two choices are not very good, not at all. I think there's rumors that Jesse Ventura is going to possibly run for the Green Party. Okay. I just hope he cleans himself up a little bit. I hope he does. But yeah, so Biden, he's the front runner. And unless they decide that his mental state is just not going to cut it, it is possible that they do something at the convention and somebody else ends up becoming the nominee. Because I'm still convinced from the videos I've seen that he's just kind of like being propped up and he's not entirely there. And I'm kind of sympathetic towards him when it comes to his mental state, because he is in his late 70s. Obviously, there's something going on, but there's also these sexual allegations that have been coming out about Biden, and it looks like the established media and the DNC are doing their best to try and cover it up. And no surprise, Hillary's supporting him, and Hillary went out of her way to cover up a lot of sexual allegations that went against her husband, former President Clinton. So it's just an hypocrisy. And that's something that really grinds my gears. So unless we get like a really good third-party independent candidate, or somehow Biden has to step aside and the Democrats bring somebody forward that actually will unite the country, then at the moment I have no interest in voting for Trump, and I have no interest in voting for Biden. So maybe I'll just stay home on election day, if there's even election day. I think there will be an election. I hope that we're all still around for November. Hopefully things are starting to get better by November. But apparently the bug will go away in the summer because the bug doesn't like warm weather. And there's some people speculating that it could come back by the fall, which would suck because I love the fall. It's my favorite time of year. And we're in the spring now. It's starting to warm up. I've yet to put the AC on in my house, but I'm sure it's coming sooner or later. Right now I've been able to get by with just the fans, which is good. So if we can have a mild summer, that would be great. It'd be at least a few positives that happened in 2020 so far. But speaking of politics, let's talk about what's happening in North Korea, or what may be or may not be happening. Apparently, Kim Jong-un is either in like grave danger, gravely ill, or he's dead. And I don't really care if he's dead. I have no sympathies towards him because of the way him and his father and his grandfather have treated the North Korean people. I mean, they have suffered tremendously under the Kim dynasty. And it's sad that we still have in the 2020s dictatorships. I mean, China's another prime example of that under the Communist Party of China. But I have no sympathies for Kim Jong-un because he came in and he could have done right by the people of North Korea. He could have started making things better for them. I mean, I think he went to school in Switzerland. I think he even went to school in America for a while, I think. I could be wrong about that. But his sister also, his younger sister, was her name Kim Yo-jong. And apparently she is in line of succession. And like she's like really ambitious and stuff. And she's the one that's been kind of grabbing power behind the scenes, especially during Kim Jong-un's health issues. So I'm kind of concerned about her. You know, I fear that if she takes over, she's going to be a lot more like her dad, Kim Jong-il, than Kim Jong-un was. So she's going to be kind of like Kim Jong-il Jr. Because she just has that ambition to her. But you never know. I mean, maybe she'll come out and surprise us if she takes over. Maybe reforms will start to happen in the puppet state of China. I mean, North Korea. But yeah, like I said, most of the time, if somebody dies, I have sympathies for their family, their loved ones. You know, obviously, especially if it's like somebody you know, like if it's a friend of yours, a family member of yours, or of a friend who lost their family member or friend, or you get the idea, or one of my viewers and subscribers who's lost somebody. I definitely have sympathies because we've all had to share with losses in our lives. But when it comes to, you know, piece of shit dictators like Kim Jong-un, I have no sympathy. And he didn't really take care of himself anyways with this cardio issues and bad eating habits, drinking, smoking. I guess he just took the whole idea of him being a living god to his head. Well, if he's dead, ripperonis. But yeah, so that's what's possibly happening in North Korea. Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out eventually, one way or the other. And let's move on to some video games. We're going to cover several topics in the vlog today, just like we do every month. Video games, yes. Did you know I had a gaming channel? Yes, I do have a gaming channel. And what we're going to talk about, I will probably never talk about on my gaming channel. Because most of the gaming channel's focus these days revolved around my trinity of games. GTA, Red Dead, and Mafia. But I am a huge Star Wars fan. Some of you know that. And that's a big reason why I've been reviewing the Star Wars saga over on the Burns Report. And I'm also going to review the season finale of Clone Wars once it's over. But speaking of Star Wars, did you hear the news? Star Wars Battlefront 2 Electric Boogaloo is going to be sunsetted. And it got off to a rocky start. It had some controversy around it at the beginning. But to DICE's credit, they really did turn around Battlefront 2. I played the demo. I didn't ever had any interest in actually buying the game. But I was following it loosely over the past few years. You know, it took them a while. But eventually, DICE did find redemption. There was a redemption arc when it came to Battlefront 2. Now, I know some of you are like, well, classic Battlefront 2 is the only Battlefront 2 for me. And look, I loved the original Battlefront 2. Still do. But, I mean, I'll give DICE credit. You know, they turned that game around. They really did. And you knew it was only going to last a certain amount of time before they sunsetted it, because apparently they're going to be working on Battlefront 3 for 2021, allegedly. So hopefully they've learned lessons from the mistakes they've made from Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2. And going into Battlefront 3, maybe it'll actually be the Battlefront that everybody was hoping for. I just hope they do away with the loot boxes, loot crates, whatever. I think a pass system would be smart, because that seems to be the best form of microtransactions. If you're going to have microtransactions in a game, it might as well be revolved around some sort of like paid DLC, like, you know, content that is cosmetic only, that doesn't give you an advantage over other players. But also, for example, like, you know, like seasonal passes. That seems to be something that people prefer. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way things were before the age of microtransactions, because these games are expensive to make. You have to, you know, pay the salaries of the developers working for these various studios. And, of course, the suits and the publishers and the stockholders, they want to make money, too, from their investment. So I think that maybe one of the lessons that they'll learn is, instead of loot crates going forward, they'll just have, like, paid DLCs where you pay for various skins or other things. And you also may have some, like, star passes, for example. I don't know. Do they have a pass system? I don't think they have a pass system in Battlefront 2. But either way, Battlefront 2 is coming to an end. So is the Clone Wars and Fall of Skywalker. Clone Wars series finales, what, May 4th? I think that's right. Is it May 4th that the series finale of Clone Wars is going to happen? I don't know. I think so. But Rise of Skywalker, or Fall of Skywalker, is also finally coming to Disney Plus, which is good news for me, because that means I don't have to drop $1 or $2 to rent it on Redbox, since I already have Disney Plus. I mean, I got Disney Plus to watch Mandalorian as well as Clone Wars, and so it's good timing. So I can continue my review series for the other channel, and I can review Rise of Skywalker, finally watch it on Disney Plus, and because I have no intention of ever buying that movie. I don't even own Last Jedi. I do own Force Awakens, but I do not own Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. And for all those reviews, I do watch the movie first, even if I've watched the prequel trilogy or the original trilogies a bazillion times each. I still feel obligated to rewatch it before I do an official review. By the way, coming up next week, as I mentioned, Return of the Jedi will be next week's review over there. So, yeah, some Star Wars stuff going on. And the finale of the Clone Wars, the final arc of Clone Wars, is very, very potentially heartbreaking, because it's like aligned now with Revenge of the Sith. Now, I really wish that Disney would have just let Clone Wars continue instead of scrapping it many years ago when they acquired Lucasfilm. I love the Clone Wars. It was off to a rocky start, but it definitely got better. Like, you went from not really liking Ahsoka to loving her, and the clones, like Rex, Cody, all the other ones, including the Clone Wars characters that we knew in the prequel trilogy already, being fleshed out even more, like Anakin, Obi-Wan, and a few other members of the Jedi Council, like Mace Windu. And I do plan on doing a review of the final season of Clone Wars once it's complete. And I might even do like a series review as well. So that's my plans for the other channel. But yeah, that's coming to an end. Better Call Saul season 5 wrapped up last week. So we're going to have to wait a while before the sixth and final season of Better Call Saul, which kind of sucks because I'm ready to see the final arc. I love the fifth season, by the way. I did do a review on that as well. I know I'm plugging the hell out of the other channel. Yes, I am. But speaking of sci-fi stuff, what if sci-fi became sci-fact? Now, for the longest time, there have been conspiracies out there and people believing that we were not alone, that there were visitors, aliens, UFOs, from Roswell to present day. And recently, some video was declassified by the U.S. government, like from fighter jets, right? Encountering aircraft or vehicles in the sky that could not be properly identified. Like the most advanced fighter jets we have were no match to the maneuverability and the speed of these various unknown vehicles, which is why they're called UFOs, unknown flying object. Now, some have speculated that maybe these are really advanced technology that we've been developing in secret, like at Area 51, Groom Lake. And others say that no, it's actually aliens, from another world or another star system or somewhere else entirely that have been visiting us for a very long time. And that we've only recently, through our own advances, become aware of them. And so that was trending, that's been trending the past 2 days on Twitter. Most of the time, it's nonsense on Twitter. But I was very interested in this particular subject because I've always believed that we're not alone. Well, at least not in the universe. I definitely don't think we're alone, and not even alone in our own galaxy. So I do think there's life out there besides our own, and I do think there's sentient life, probably a lot more civilized than us, and there's probably civilizations that are less advanced than us. It probably cuts both ways. Whether or not we actually ever get to the point where we can encounter another civilization remains to be seen, but it's possible that another one of those civilizations have already encountered us without us even realizing it. So right now it's what aliens are real. That's trending. UFOs are trending. Aliens are trending. And it is interesting to talk about because I would like to believe that aliens are out there, that there are other sentient species in the cosmos and possibly very, very close by. Now, why are they here if there are in fact aliens among us? Are they refugees from another star system, another world? Are they observers? Are they plotting some sort of invasion? I really don't know. Or some people even speculate that maybe, just maybe, the aliens that are here are our creators. That they, in fact, long time ago, created humans, out of various experiments in DNA, from primitive apes and monkeys. They created us. I don't know what to believe, to be honest. That's why I always try to keep an open mind. There's some things that obviously I don't think are true, like flat Earth. I don't think a flat Earth is real. I think that's BS, but that's my opinion. But I do think that there's something more going on than what we have come to accept or believe. So I wonder what this will lead to if the video actually shows evidence of vehicles that are extraterrestrial, that are not created by humans. Then that would imply that there are aliens among us right now, and there have been aliens. And why they're here? Are they guiding us? Are they trying to help us? Are they trying to hinder us? Are they using us? Are they manipulating us? Are they plotting against us? So many questions. Are they simply just studying us like you would have scientists go out to the Serengeti and study prides of lions and herds of buffalo and giraffes and elephants? Maybe that's really what it comes down to, is that we're just simply being studied. Or like in an episode of South Park, where basically Earth is just a reality show to entertain the rest of the galaxy. Maybe that's what it really comes down to. The UFOs are actually really advanced, they have really advanced cameras, listening devices and stuff. And they're beaming all of our nonsense over to like Alpha Centauri and other star systems, and aliens on worlds far, far away from here are having a good life at our expense. I mean, that's a very real possibility. And back to video games. Yes, we're circling back to video games. Last of Us Part 2. This is something that some have discussed in our Discord. And I always was told how awesome Last of Us Part 1 is. And so many people, friends of mine, viewers, have encouraged me to eventually play it. But there have been issues over at Naughty Dog, the developer of Last of Us Part 2. Apparently really bad working conditions, crunch time. Of course, that's nothing new with a lot of development studios. And it looks like that Last of Us Part 2 is coming out this summer, I think. It was first like going to be delayed indefinitely, but then that indefinitely was just 3 weeks from the launch date. So it's coming out this summer. But what happened along the way is somebody inside Naughty Dog, maybe a disgruntled employee or employees, maybe not happy with the working conditions at Naughty Dog. Maybe they're not happy with the direction that Last of Us Part 2 is going. Decided to leak a ton of information regarding Last of Us Part 2. And since I never really played Last of Us Part 1, I mean, I know the basic premises of it. I've watched a few people play it. I think Azerlin streamed it once or twice or something. Well, I think she streamed it start to finish. But I decided I didn't care and I was just going to be spoiled. And I got to be honest, if the spoils are true, if the information that was leaked out, which includes also video, by the way, then wow, that is the best that they could come up with. I mean, it's very disappointing. Without me spoiling it for those of you that are interested in Last of Us Part 2, it doesn't sound good. It does not sound like a good continuation of the Last of Us franchise. And I think that because of that, the fact that this leaked, it's probably going to mean a decline in sales. And I feel like that Last of Us Part 2 is going to bomb. And even if it's a great game, even if it has good gameplay mechanics, even if there's a lot to do in the game and there's replayability, if people hate the story of Last of Us Part 2, if they feel like it's just not that good, it just kind of goes against or subverts people's expectations, then that's a major turnoff. I mean, you could have a big production movie, right? Like, I don't know, Rise of Skywalker or Last Jedi. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars making it. But if the story sucks, then guess what? People aren't going to give a crap. And it's the same thing for video games. If Red Dead Redemption 2 had a terrible story and a terrible protagonist, then people would have hated that game. They would have. So storytelling and character development is very important and crucial, not only to TV shows and movies and comics and books, but also to video games. Not all video games. There's definitely some out there where it doesn't really matter. But in a game like Last of Us Part 2, similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, story very much does matter. It absolutely does. And if everything that has been rumored or the information that's come out turns out to be true, then wow, talk about dropping the bomb. And I think that's what Last of Us Part 2 is going to be. A major bomb. Another negative when it comes to the year 2020 thus far. So we did talk a little bit about the bug at the beginning. I didn't go as much into it because we've gone over it again and again. And I know you're getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of it. We want to be over with this. We want to get back to some level of normalcy. Whether or not the world will ever go back to the way it was, probably not. I think things have changed. Every time something happens like 9/11, or in this case, this pandemic, the world has always changed. You can never really go back, which can be for the better or for the worse at the same time. But I've always was concerned that it wasn't just the bug that we had to be worried about. It was the aftermath of the bug. The fact that you've had a lot of countries on lockdown, a lot of people unable to work because they're having to stay at home, they're having to self-quarantine. And in the United States alone, over 20 million people overnight have lost their jobs. And you hope that they get those jobs back because yeah, you kind of need to have a workforce. You kind of need to have people working in order for them to, pay the bills, put food on the table, and that's part of the economy. And with so many businesses shut down right now, except for the quote unquote essential businesses, yeah, there's definitely an urge, a desire for a lot of people to get back to work. They want to get back to work. But at the same time, we obviously want to be smart about it. We want to be safe. We want to take the proper precautions, like making sure there's people like wearing masks, like the N95 mask, wearing gloves if necessary, social distancing from each other, limiting how many people can go into a store at a time. So, I mean, as long as the precautions are taken, I think that we need to start getting things opened back up. Now, it's not going to be the case for every single city, every single state in the U.S. to open at the same time. And that's something that they've already pointed out, the administration, is that is a slow process and there are going to be phases. And I think a lot of other countries are also doing something similar. But the concern I have is that maybe the damage has already been done. The pandemic was just the first problem. The second problem is our economy. Our economy has taken a serious hit. And I'm talking about the world economy. Because not only do you have 20-something million Americans out of work, you have people out of work all over the place, all over the world, affected by this. And you hope that everybody will get back to work, that everybody will have a job, and that everybody can start paying their bills again and getting, like I said, back to some sort of degree of normalcy. But things, I fear, are going to take a while before we might get back to that. And there's other rumblings going on right now that are concerning. The unemployment issue. There's a lot of companies that may decide, hey, we don't need to rehire this many employees. So you're still going to have a huge chunk of people unemployed. Where do they go? Like, what are they going to do if they don't have a job or any jobs to apply for? And that is very dangerous when you have a huge percentage of the population all of a sudden unemployed, struggling to find work and make a living and put food on the table and take care of themselves and their family and loved ones. That leads to desperation. And when people are desperate to survive, they're willing to do things they normally wouldn't do, like steal or kill or worse. Well, killing's pretty bad. But you get where I'm going with this. There is rumors of potential civil unrest. There's already been some protesters out there, but a lot of people say that those are kind of AstroTurf protesters, but I think the real protesters are yet to come. So you will see civil unrest. And the other issue that I'm reading about now is the growing possibility of protein shortages, like shortages in like meat, like beef, pork, chicken, poultry, and other food shortages as well. So at first we had hand sanitizer and TP shortages and paper towel shortages. And, that was annoying, but we could survive that. But it was always my concern that was just the beginning of shortages. So there is a possibility that we may now start to see shortages when it comes to food, like we talked about. And if that happens, and you see food prices going through the roof and people unable to afford it because they don't have a job anyways, well, you are heading towards some serious problems. And I feel like we're already at the beginning of a new Great Depression. I already think it's happening. The way the economy has taken a hit, the loss of money across the world globally, the amount of people unemployed, I think, unfortunately, we are in a new Great Depression. That's just a reality. And the truth is, it was probably only a matter of time before this was going to happen in some form or fashion. I mean, my country alone is trillions of dollars in debt. Many other countries are also in huge amounts of debt. And that's not a good way to exist as an economy or countries. Eventually, the bottom was going to fall out. And I feel like the bug is the spark, the domino that is finally pushed over as we head into a new depression. And I hope that we can make it through it. I fear like that. I would like to believe that the worst is behind us with the ending of the bug. Hopefully it's coming to an end. In some places it's not. In other places it seems to be residing. And the death toll is going down. And I'm sure that the numbers from China are 100% accurate and honest. I mean, why not believe what the Chinese Communist Party has to say, right? But a lot of people, when the dust settles, are going to start looking for someone to blame. And yeah, the mainstream media always like to blame Trump for this, Trump for that. But where did this come from? What government could have done a better job to contain the spread of this bug? What government did all sorts of shenanigans, all sorts of atrocities apparently have come out from a certain government, from a certain country. Now, before I name that government, let me say something. I do not blame the Chinese people. I do not blame anyone of Asian descent. And unfortunately, there have been, I think we talked about this last month, there have been incidences of people of Asian descent being coughed on, having all sorts of horrible things said towards them, being attacked. And the sad reality is a lot of them probably weren't even Chinese, you know. They were probably like Japanese or Vietnamese or Korean or Filipino. And yet they're all being lumped in together. You know, that's what we call racist. But it is the Communist Party of China that is to blame for how badly this pandemic was. Now, the rest of the world have taken the proper precautions, and hopefully that means that the death toll is much lower than it possibly could have been otherwise. But the Communist Party of China is to blame for this thing spreading the way it did, by keeping people in the dark, people as in the world, and not divulging information until after the fact. Lying to the world from the very beginning of this pandemic. And also the atrocious way they treated their citizens in Wuhan and other parts of China. And how obvious it is that the death toll numbers that they give to us are complete BS. In a country with like over 1 billion people, where this thing started, I seriously doubt that the death toll in China when it comes to the bug is lower than other countries. I seriously doubt, especially with reports we have been getting from China, you know, from people in China that have been on the ground, have seen what's been going on with, you know, the like incendiaries constantly were running with like truckloads of urns going into funerals. I think the death toll in China from the bug is considerably higher than their numbers. And so a lot of countries in the world are probably going to start to hold China accountable for not only the death toll in the world. Currently, the world death toll is over 200,000 people. And I think at least in the United States, over 1 million are now have been contracted with the disease. Now, hopefully the majority of those that are currently infected by the coronavirus, the bug, whatever you want to call it, in the U.S. and elsewhere, hopefully they'll recover. Hopefully. But more people will unfortunately die before this is over. And the death toll could have been considerably lower if, you know, the Communist Party of China was a lot more forthcoming with the information, the vital information that we needed. We as in the rest of the world. And so I feel like there will be a reckoning to some degree when it comes to holding the Communist Party of China responsible. And I say it specifically because they're the ones responsible. I'm not holding the citizens of China responsible. I'm not holding Chinese people responsible. I'm not anyone of Chinese descent. I'm not holding them responsible. I have a good friend who is a streamer. He's Fat Chinese Gaming. He's of Chinese descent. He lives in the UK, but he's not responsible for this. And probably a huge chunk of the victims of the coronavirus are Chinese. I'm willing to bet that if we had the actual number of the death toll in China, that number would be considerably higher. So a huge percentage of those that have died from this bug are most likely Chinese. But will China ever tell us the truth? Probably not. But once everything's said and done, I think there's going to be countries that are going to some degree hold China responsible for this. And there's already been talk of some sort of reparations. And there's also rumor mills out there, there always is, of potential war. There could actually be war that breaks out between us and China. Because a lot of people see this as an attack, especially since, one or two of our carriers and some of our naval ships, there have been sailors aboard that have contracted the bug, and it's basically made it difficult for us to operate some of our ships. And some can take that a certain way, as a military threat. I mean, I hope it doesn't come to war, but I feel like if we are heading towards an economic collapse, especially when it comes to jobs and food shortages, civil unrest, and a new Great Depression, well, unfortunately, I feel like that it is going to ultimately result in a war. Now, we can only hope that it won't be a thermonuclear war, or else that's all she wrote. And I would like that not to transpire. But I am concerned of the very real possibility that we may be heading down to not only civil unrest, maybe even new revolutions in countries, and food shortages, maybe even the balkanizations of countries, the end of certain countries, and new countries rising up. We don't know. We don't know how this is going to play out. And the death toll from a new Great Depression and new revolutions and wars will probably be considerably higher than the death toll from the bug itself. These are things that we have to be mindful of and we have to be concerned of. You always hope for the best, that we will get through this, that it won't ultimately lead to war, that somehow the economy, maybe it'll just be a recession, right? Maybe that'll be it. Maybe it'll be a recession. Maybe we can bounce back and we can get back on our feet without there being a Great Depression, without there being war. But I do think that China is going to be held responsible. At least that's what I think should happen. They should be held responsible, they being obviously the Communist Party of China. I don't know what that's going to result in, but there's going to have to be a reckoning for all this. And I guess we're just all along for the ride, no matter what. So I still hope that 2020 somehow gets better. I know I've joked about wanting to write off 2020 and just move on to 2021, but we're in it now, for better or worse. But yeah, every time we do these monthly vlogs, I hope that there comes a month that comes by where a lot of really awesome things happen in that month, where the death tolls officially teetered off, where people are no longer dying from the bug, where people are going back to work, where the economy's getting back moving again, shops are opening, we're no longer worried about food shortages, and things are starting to get better. I mean, I would like to have positive things to talk about in future vlogs. But I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. And like I mentioned before, if you want to check out previous vlogs, always look at my vlogs playlist over on my vlogs channel. You're always welcome to subscribe to the vlogs channel, by the way. Thanks again to everybody that is currently subscribed. We do monthly vlogs. Once a month, I post a new vlog over here. And I would like to know your thoughts, your views, opinions about April 2020. Was there something that happened in your life that was actually positive, good in 2020? For me, one or two things have happened that were okay. So I mean, you always got to take the good with the bad. But I'm hoping that May will be a little bit better. I hope so, anyways. But we'll find out in a month from now in the May 2020 vlog.